Today, I will talk with you about Headless. Headless e-commerce, but most importantly, why we think this is the future of e-commerce. Let me introduce us. We are Hatimeria. This is my colleague Michał.
Hi.
My name is Jamie. We are a team of 36 developers. We're located in Poland, the Netherlands, and in Switzerland, and we focus on building e-commerce. Today, I will tell you something about the Rake. The Rake is a magazine for male clothing, kind of luxury magazine, and they came to us saying, hey guys, we want to build a web shop, but it needs to be content-driven. So, what do we need to use? We were looking into Magento, which is perfect for web shops, but content-driven, we're not so sure if this is the best for them. WordPress, very good for content, but obviously not for web shops. So, we made a concept, he made the concept, not me, and to combine these two together, and to add to that a front end which is fully headless. We have in the front end a React.js and we have a Node.js server in between. The button doesn't seem to work. Guys?
Yeah, you got it.
It is, good. Let me explain you first what is headless. So, basically, when we look at traditional web shop, monolithic web shops, we have one system, a connected front and back end. They're fully interwoven with each other and it's one part. But in the headless system, we are splitting this front end and this back end, and we're adding an API layer in between, which is connecting with both. These three layers are fully separate from each other. And with that, I mean literally separate. You can even place them on separate servers. You can have separate teams working on them. They're only connected through the API, and they're not interwoven with each other as we see in monolithic web shops. In our case, we have the React.js on the front end, the Node.js in the middle, and we have the Magento 2 in the back end. So, headless sounds really cool, and many of you probably already heard about it, read about something in blogs, but why would you do this? Basically, we have two main advantages for this. First of all is the performance. And not only the performance on the front end, that it is fast for the user, but also the performance for you as developers to develop these kind of websites extremely fast. Second of all, modular systems. And this, in particular, is why we believe this is the future of e-commerce. Let me first explain you something about the performance, and later I will get back to the modular systems. So, we all know that performance is very important for your e-commerce shops. We know these numbers. 1 second of delay, page speed in your desktop, will give you a decrease in the conversion rate of 22%. 53% of your visitors will be gone after 3 seconds load time. This means if you have a shop with a turnover of 100,000 euros a day, 1 second delay costs you 2.5 million a year in revenue you just could have had if the thing was faster. These numbers are 2016. And we all know 3 years ago these numbers were different. We were accepting 1 second delays. We were accepting web shops which were 3 seconds. This also means that within a year or two, these numbers are different again. 1 second delay will be half a second delay. 3 seconds loading time will be 2, maybe even 1. And we're looking, how can we beat these numbers and make sure we're faster for the future? Now let me first show you the Rake.com, how fast it is. On the left side, I'm going to show you a website, and it's called zitmax.nl. This website has a Google page score of almost 100%. 95, 100, it differs a bit. We don't have such a high page score yet. We need some work still. But I want to show you what's going on both. Both are just regular versions. I didn't delay anything down. You can come and test it with us later if you want. So on each side, I'm going to add 4 products to the shopping cart and go to the checkout process. So, as you can see on the right side, this is the Rake.com, and it really feels like almost native. It's so fast that you don't even see anything loading here at any moment when you add something to the cart. On the left side, you do see this happening. You see a little slightly delay. It's still very fast, but you do see a little slight of delay. I'm adding some products to the cart, and it's instantly added to the cart. Going back on each side, finding a new product, adding it to the cart. And at this point, I'm already in the checkout, and I'm done. On the left side, I'm adding the last product to my cart, and I must say this website is really fast. I could have cheated, got a very slow website, but obviously that's not what we're here for. Now on both sides, we're at the point where we need to be. So why is this so fast? This mainly has to do with three things. First of all, we have a React.js framework on the front end. We have a Node.js server, and the thing is built as a single page application. I'll explain you briefly about these three, and I know we can discuss about this for hours, but I will try to explain it to you in the few minutes we have, and try to explain the essence of this. First of all, in the React.js framework, React works with a virtual DOM. It never talks directly to the DOM. So we have the real DOM, and from that, React makes a virtual DOM. In here is where it makes the change. And then it compares the both, sees what is the difference, and this is patched to the real DOM. Because of this, we never have to talk directly to it, which makes it very fast. Second, PHP versus Node.js. And I know this is a very tricky subject. And I know some of you might not agree, would like to discuss this later, and we're very open for that. But what I do want to explain you is the essence of both, is the basic of both, why the one can work faster than the other one. And that mainly has to do with the fact that the PHP is using a blocking synchronic architecture, and the Node.js is all about the non-blocking asynchronic architecture. And let me show you what that means. Basically, we have on each side, we get a task. And with that task, I mean, for example, when I'm loading a home page, I'm talking about a task for loading a menu, I'm talking about a task for loading a shopping cart, or to, for example, load the footer. Both of them have workers who are using the CPU to do this task. And if we do this task, both sides are good, equally fast. Second task is coming up, we're good. If the button works, yes, we're good, and we're equally fast. But now we get an issue. On each side, we get two tasks at the same time. So on each side, the first task is getting done, but this task needs a request. We have to park it, we have to wait. We need to wait for a request, and then we can get further. On the PHP side, the second task cannot be done by this worker. This worker is busy, it's waiting, but it's busy with that. On the Node.js side, however, the task can do something else. When it's busy waiting, it can actually take on the second task. This is what we call the blocking versus the non-blocking architecture. I know on the PHP side we can solve this by adding more workers. You know, you can add all things you need there. But in the essence, we have a multitasker versus a non-multitasker. When the first task is getting back, we can proceed with that. And then the second task is coming again, and we're done at both sides. Single page application. The Rake is fully built as a single page application, and with this we mean that the page is retrieved in once. There is no reloading at any point. The whole page is already there. The only thing we reload, or which we get, request, is the dynamic elements, which you see in the website. And sometimes you can see it, that the page is loading and showing a little bit of a gray animation, that it's trying to retrieve new content. But as soon as this dynamic content is there, it's not switching anymore. Here you just saw the switch, but it only switches the elements which are different. Because everything is already there, you can very easily go to an omnichannel. You can go to an app for an iPad, you can make something for your phone, and if you want, you can even go crazy and go for the watch. Dynamic elements sounds really cool. But what about Google? Google doesn't like dynamic elements. We know this. In general, Google crawlers will ignore your dynamic elements. This would mean that the whole Rake would basically be ignored by these dynamic elements, by Google. Google will not see them. So Google will only see the DOM and will not see the dynamic content. We know at the moment Google is improving and is able to read some of these dynamic elements. But this is something we don't want to trust on. We want to make sure that the Google crawler sees exactly everything we want them to see. So what we built is something called server-side rendering. And in that case, we have, on the Node.js server, we're creating the whole image, we're creating everything and sending the HTML snapshot to the browser and with that also to the Google crawler to make sure Google sees everything. Modular systems. Second thing, what makes this so important and why we think this is the future of e-commerce. First of all, when we look at a traditional web shop, like Magento, we work with extensions. And we're adding extensions to the shop, and if you want to do something nice with it, we're adding more and more extensions, and until now, we're good. We're developers, we know what we're doing, we're good. But then we want more, and we want more every day, because we see cool things, we want to keep more and more and more, our business is already running for a while, and we want more. And in the end, we end up with some tightly coupled, I will not say mess, but it is an interesting whole here. And what is so interesting about this, or actually not interesting about this, is that you're losing, you as developers, the merchants, losing a lot of time and losing a lot of money with trying to keep this up and running. Because as soon as something falls down, the next thing will fall down and everything is tightly to each other and we don't know anymore what we're doing. And we are focusing on maintenance, we're losing a lot of time and a lot of cost on maintenance instead of really building the shop. And while we're fixing it, everything goes well, and then somewhere at the other side, magically, something will fall down, and we will have no clue, we will find it out 3 months later. So, in the headless web shops, this works very different. Here we go. As we already said, we have a front end, and we have an API, and we have a back end. And these are communicating with each other. But this backend is not just one backend. What we're using is different programs, different platforms, different types of software, and from that we're using the things we actually need on the front. For example, we're using Magento for the shop functionalities. We're using Algolia for search. We will use WordPress for content. We're using PayPal for payments. We're using Quint for business process management, and we're using, for example, Akeneo as a PIM system. And these services work separately. So if you want to work on this, you can even have all different teams working on these services. We just need to make sure that we know on the API side, on the front-end side, what we need to use from each, and we will call for that. And if at some point you decide, hey, you know, WordPress is maybe not the best thing anymore for us, you can replace it and add, for example, typo 3. Now, let me explain you what we have been doing in the last few months. We've been working on something which is called the back end of the front end. It's the layer between the front end and the API, and this is where you can find the Node.js. What we've been doing here, we've been building all kind of blocks, all kind of Lego blocks, and these blocks are mainly representing all the services we want to use on the front end. For example, we have a block for wish list, we have a block for currency switch, we have a block for you name it. All these different blocks, all these functionalities we've been building. And these blocks is what we use to, on the front end, add React.js layer and make the actual website. Because we have such a broad already blocks there, we can now easily recreate other websites. And this is where it gets interesting. Because at this point, with these little blocks, we can very easily and very fast make a new website. We just take the blocks we want, we add a front-end layer to it, and it's done. And with fast, I'm talking about really fast. I'm talking about creating front-end websites between 40 and 100 hours straight. So what does this mean for you if you are a developer?
So for developers, it means we are going back to the good old-fashioned divide and conquer rule. So imagine you have 100 million products. yeah, we all like challenges, but trying to fit it into Magento backend, that's not something I would like to do. So we find a search partner that can do it for us as a microservice. If we need WordPress, if we need all the blog platform features, we can use WordPress. And we can still use the Magento order processing on top of it. So that's really cool. And yeah, we need a front end for it. So we can all forget about jQuery, Knockout, Backbone, legacy stuff. We can forget about UI designed by some old school PHP developers. Sorry, guys. And with all of it, we can create a really custom 100-step checkout, you name it, without a nightmare-like experience for everybody involved. And it means we can all specialize in the things we are good at. So we can define API contracts, so other parties can work on shipping, fulfillment, payment, whatever. And front-end development can continue without being blocked by any back-end parts being missing. And other way around, of course. So back-end developers can just work on their stuff without waiting. And last but not least is that everybody knows Varnish. Jamie knows Varnish, or the call center guys know Varnish, business owners, they know Varnish. It's ease of use, it's black box-like experience. So in this setup, you don't need Varnish because Node can do the same at the same speed, and it's a programming language. So you have all the things that programming language delivers. So it's really cool. That's my personal favorite. So that's just the 2 minutes I can give you right now, but you can contact me on a Magefront Slack channel, which I recommend to every front-end developer because there are cool discussions in there, and you can ask questions after the presentation. So Jamie, let's check the merchant side.
Yeah. So what does this mean for merchants? Because that's something which is very interesting. Some of you might be merchants, some of you are developers who are trying to sell it to a merchant, so we need to know what does this mean. First and foremost, it means that we're saving cost and time. The development process becomes much more lean and much more faster. We have these blocks, we have to reconnect them. We also can use already services and guys which are really focusing on these services. For example, we're using the WordPress for the content, and we know WordPress will be working on the content. And if they work also for this headless setup, they will not be busy anymore trying to make their code compatible with other stuff. They can really work on the essence of the concept. Magento can really work on the essence of the thing and is not busy with trying to fix everything and making it compatible with lots of services. So we can hire different teams, we can really trust on people that they're working on their services and use it, and if you're not happy, we switch it. Second is that we can really create custom solutions, which don't have to take a lot of time and a lot of money anymore. For example, with the Rake, they came to us, we want a content-driven web shop. You want that? Fine. We take this one, we take this services, we combine them, and we add them to the front end. You're not busy anymore trying to make one service fit for them, because one solution does not fit all. And the third is that we become very flexible. The extensions can be easily switched. And for example, now we are all busy. We're trying to go from Magento 1 to Magento 2, and we're trying to rewrite the whole thing. And with this kind of setups, that's not necessary anymore. Because you can switch what you need and what you want to use in there, and you don't have to rebuild your whole store anymore. Vision for the future. We believe that this microservice approach is the future of e-commerce. And we are not the only one who believes this. If we look at Magento, they're also working on this PWA. They made their Magento 2 with their API ready for us to use in such a setup. We have Google, PWA again, they are looking for this. We have, for example, NPM, this community where you can find the packages, almost 500,000 packages already there for us to use. But we also have services like, for example, PayPal, who switched to the Node.js, who made sure that their service can be used in such a setup, and we can easily connect them to the Headless. Quint, business process management, the same. Algolia, search, the same. They just made sure we can use it. And with these, many other services. But This thing, building this and getting this revolution there and making sure that all of us will go in that direction, we cannot do by ourselves. We've seen it, Alan Kent saying it in December 2016. He's been writing a blog about this, and he's been giving a recommendation for extension developers to consider, where appropriate, providing the REST APIs to the functionality of their extension. So these extensions can be valuable and will be valuable in headless scenarios. December 2016. And to make this revolution and to make sure all of us and the future of e-commerce is really getting there, we need all of you. We know with our group of 36 developers, we are not going to do this. We are not going to be the ones who's going to fully make sure that this is the future of e-commerce. And for that, we need you. And to be able to work with you together on this, we created a product, we created a platform, a community and a society maybe, and we call that Deity, e-commerce revolution. On Deity, we would like to share this with you in an open source manner to make sure we can all together start working on this, and with services like Magento, like WordPress, like Algolia, and with all your codes, make sure we can actually do this. What we will be providing there is mainly the layers in between, all these building blocks, the ones we have and the ones you will start creating. And together, we can start this revolution. And together, we can break away from the traditional e-commerce monolith while writing tomorrow's leading software today. Thank you.